Okay, good morning, everyone. Let me know in the comments if you can't hear me. Right, I had to leave the Teams meeting because I was getting feedback from that section. So I'm out of there now. But I think you can still comment. I'm going to give a few more minutes here just for everybody to get following the stream. Okay, here's another question. Can you hear this? The cymbals crashing. Well, hopefully you can hear that audio. Just 2 minutes and I'm going to get going. I turned up the audio. Hopefully that's a little bit better. It's not the end of the world if you can't hear it. You just have to trust me when I say it makes noise. One minute, I'm going to get going. Okay, not everybody's here yet, but they must be running late or not coming today. So either way, before we get going, I want to remind everybody you have to make sure you log into Moodle every day. Even on a day where I don't have a live lesson, you're going to want to log into Moodle so that that's how I do my attendance. So if you don't log into Moodle, then I mark you as absent. Coming to the live stream isn't where I do my attendance because I don't know your usernames and such. So make sure you are logging into Moodle every day, even on days where we don't have a live lesson, or if you're working on a Scratch project and you don't need to log into Moodle because there's nothing in there you need because you're just going to work on the Scratch website, still make sure you log in, at least log in. That's how I do my attendance, so make sure you've done that every single day. Okay, moving on here, we're going to go on to lesson 2. And lesson 2 is called Programming Assets. Just give me 1 second here. For some reason, my own stream is playing in the background and it's very distracting. I'm very new to this. So I'm just going to go back in. I think it was playing here. Okay, I think I may have fixed it. All right. Okay, so lesson 2, programming assets. You should have finished in assignment 1, Intro to Scratch, on Friday. I wanted you to do that before you packed it in for the day. Most likely we'll be able to finish up assignment number 2 today and continue to move on day by day so that we can get through the course in a realistic amount of time. I like finishing inside that first week of June, so I kind of push things a little bit more at the beginning of the course just so that you have more time at the end of June to finish, late assignments, missing assignments, work on your final project, and prep for the work I do for the final. So moving into lesson 2, Scratch Programming Assets. Okay, so every project you create will have assets. So assets are just things that are positive that you can use to accomplish your goals. Okay, so there's 4 types: backgrounds, sprites, costumes, sounds. That's where you're working. All 4 of those things can be either attached to sprites, are sprites, or can have code attached to them. Okay, I have an example here of this Rock Band program, which I'm going to have you download. If it doesn't work, let me know, and I can just point anybody to it that can't find it. But you just click on this, and it should open up your Scratch account and bring you to this Rock Band program that's somebody else made at one point. I've messed with it here and there as we go. We're going to remix that, or I'm going to remix that. You don't necessarily have to. When you go through the lesson, it's good to have it open so that you can see everything that the lesson's going to teach you how to do. But that's what's called remixing. We take somebody else's program on Scratch and you go in and you can make changes to it. But just remember, don't try and remix for an assignment, because it tells me when you remix something. It shows in the bottom corner of the main page of your program. It's completely fine to go into somebody else's program and look at the code they've used and use the same code. That's just called research. So feel free to do that. Just don't remix and then hand in the remix as your own assignment. Okay, so there's a bunch of stuff that I go through here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through on Scratch rather than going through the screenshots. I'm going to go through so that they're more interactive. Okay, I broke down all the sections of Scratch that we have on Friday. Now I'm going to show you code in each one of them, and not just code that doesn't react with each piece. This is logical code. This code, every piece of code in here has a purpose, and it relates to the other pieces. So this program is called Rock Band. It's not really a rock band, but you get the idea. Everything in here relates to a music or a band or somebody playing music. Okay, you have a singer, you have a mic, you have a cymbal, you have a drum. All right, and each of them has code and actions that they're going to take out. And if you go back to that lesson, if you remember, there was four pieces to every program, 4 assets. We have costumes, we have backdrops, we have sprites, and we have sounds. Okay, I'm not sure if you heard that sound, but I accidentally clicked the singer and that made her sing. Okay, so those are the 4 things that we have in any single program. And down here in our sprite window, we can click through the sprites to see what code we have attached to them. So if we look at the drum, I have, and you'll see I have this one right here on every single item, because you need to have a condition established for the program to know when you want something to happen. You can't just say switch costume to not hit, because nothing will happen. The computer doesn't know when to do this, so you have to tell it when to do it. So I want to do this when the flag is clicked, or sorry, when the start button is clicked. I want you to switch costume to not hit. Okay, so right now this program is not running. When I hit this, oh man, that's annoying. When I ran the program, you could see that it switched to not hit in terms of the costume. Now when I look at the costumes here, I have the drum selected. This is the not hit costume for this drum. This is the hit costume for this drum. So this is like your old school animation where they used to take a picture of somebody running, and the first step they were like this, and then the next picture they were like this, and the next picture they were like this, and then like this, and then like this, and then like this, and then they keep adding pictures together, and then they look at them really, really fast, and it creates that idea of motion. That's all costumes are. It's not the literal sense where you just make something look different. You're making it change so that it can make the user think that there's movement occurring. Okay, so these are our not hit and hit. And when you look at our code for the drum, when the program starts, we want not hit to show. All right, now I'm going to okay, so I'm going to start this. And that music plays. I'm just going to shut it off so that I can still think, because it's incredibly loud in my ear. Now you can see the drum is at not hit. When you look at the rest of the code for the drum, we have when this sprite is clicked. We have the drum selected, so that's the sprite we're talking about. We're going to switch the costume to hit, and we're going to play drum sound snare drum for 2 beats. Then we're going to switch the costume back to not hit. Okay, so we can see that it runs for 2 beats. So that's the amount of time that sound is going to run before it goes on to the next line of code, which is to switch it back to the not hit costume. So you can see it switch from not hit to hit and then back to not hit. That's all the code that the drum has. And you can put any sound in here that's available to you. Okay, you can also record your own sounds and use those sounds as something that your sprite will do. Okay, so we switch to the singer, and you can look, it almost looks identical. When the program started, switch the cat costume to not singing. Then when the sprites click, switch the costume to, that seems like it's backwards. Okay, so when the sprite is clicked, switch the costume to singing, play the sound singer 1 until it's done, and switch the costume to not singing once that finishes. Okay, so computers are always going to run code step by step. It does this. Once this is complete, it moves to this. Once this is complete, it moves to this. And it does that incredibly fast. Remember we talked about putting in a wait command or a delay to make sure that human eyes can see each step occurring. Now this one slows it down because the play sound has a duration. It's 3/4 of a second or a second. So it won't switch it back to not singing until that time frame's done. So that's singing. Once the audio track finishes playing, it switches it back to not singing. So almost the same as the drum. Cymbal, same thing. It's not hit, then it switches to hit, plays the cymbal crash, and then it's not hit. Microphone. This one is the one I messed around with. I think when you download this actual program, the microphone isn't even there. So it looks like it's going to play 3 beat boxes, and then it's going to switch it back to the microphone stand. So I don't think you will have this one in there. This is just something that I added, messing around to show people how it works. Okay, so there's 3 beatbox sounds in there. I'm going to take those 2 out, play it again, and it just plays the 1 now. So now it's just playing the 1. And if I want to put my beatbox sounds back in, so that it plays all 3. Now it plays all 3 of them. Okay, that's just one that I've added. That one won't be in there in yours. It's a good idea to throw something in. The important thing is when you're remixing and you're learning how to do this, I threw something that was supposed to be in here. I didn't throw a picture of Godzilla screaming in the middle of a band. That doesn't make sense. So there's no reason for that to be in there. Okay? Now, the backdrop, the thing that's been bugging me the whole time I play it, when you look at this backdrop and we see the code that we have set up, it says, when this is clicked, set the volume to 100 and forever play the sound Triumph until done. And it's annoying because I've got my earbud in and it's playing that music incredibly loud right in my ear. So I set this piece of code up just so that I could teach this lesson. So I said when M is pressed and these events have a button right here. This one that says when space is pressed, I can change this to be whatever I want it to be. So I picked M and then I picked U for the other one. Okay, so when M is pressed, set the volume to 100. When U is pressed, set the volume to 0. So this is still playing. You can see that because there's a yellow line around it. So this music is still playing in the background. I've just muted it because I set up code for myself to mute it so that I could teach the lesson without that music going on. And when you think about me teaching this lesson in a classroom with the speaker system in the classroom, trying to talk while that music's playing in the background was annoying. So I put this code in so that I can just mute it. Now if I hit the M, the music comes back. And it just keeps playing because I have this forever loop in here. And we don't need to worry about forever loops at the moment. We'll get to them. Okay, that is how all of that works. Now, sounds. Okay, so you can add new sounds down here. You can upload a sound that you've created, or you can record your own sound right in Scratch, or you can choose a sound that they have in there. They have a sound for almost everything. There's no time I don't think I'm going to make you upload your own stuff unless you want to. Lots of students do that, but you don't have to unless you want to. Okay, our costumes are here. You can add the same ones here. You can use the camera to take a picture. You can upload. You can use Paint to draw your own, or you can use the ones that they have pre-set up. Okay, I believe that's everything from this program. Anybody have any questions about this program only? I still got a few more things I want to talk about, but anything specific that doesn't make sense? Okay, I'm just gonna switch through the lesson, make sure I got it all. This information's all here. These are all the scripts that you can use. Oh, comments, good. Okay, if you take Computer Science 30, you're gonna hear me talk about comments for the next 2 years over and over and over again. I don't know why students don't get this, but comments are really the single most important thing that you're creating. When you look at real big pieces of software, when you look at Photoshop or even the internet programs that are created, the software within Scratch, when you look at video games that are created, no one single person creates those. It's a full team of people. So if I'm writing code and 18 other people are writing code and we're trying to combine all of that code together, it could get really, really confusing, especially when it's all linear words and we don't know where to look. We don't know what a programmer is trying to do because there's 1,000 ways to do the same thing when it comes to code. You want to be able to communicate with your fellow programmer. You want to be able to communicate with humans. There's always a way to add comments. Scratch, Python, Java. Those are the three. If you stay with computer science, those are the three programming languages you'll learn, and they all have their own way of doing comments. Okay? And the comments are critical. Now, for all of you who are learning, it is critical for you to use comments because I need to know what you're doing. If you put a piece of code in and it doesn't work, or doesn't make sense, but you comment in there, this is why I did this, I probably wouldn't take marks off in that situation because you explained it to me and you used comments to do that. The other thing that happens with comments is when I start to suspect that some students are stealing work from another student, I'll start asking for more and more comments. And I'll say, explain to me every line that you're doing here so that I know what's happening. Comments are a way for you to prove to me that you understand what you're working on. Okay? Scratch has an easy way of adding comments. You just right click on any script and you get this duplicate, add comment, or delete block. Okay? I always delete by dragging it over here, but you can right click on it to delete it as well. Okay? You can also use that to duplicate, which is super valuable when you have to do the same thing over and over again. But this is the one we want, add comment. You can see it makes a comment right here. This is to make the symbol, sound, and costume change. Okay, so now that comment's there. So now when I'm sifting through your program, I can see this note. Comments are always ignored by a computer. The computer has no concept of what a comment is. They don't understand English, so they don't know what that means anyway. And there's always a way to indicate that it's a comment and for the computer to ignore it. So if you look at Python, these are Python comments. That's what we'll use. So you start them with a hashtag or a number sign, whatever you want to call that. And in Java, those are Java comments. So for us, these are our Scratch comments. In Python, you'll use a hashtag for the comments. And in Java, you'll use 2 slashes. Somebody asked if anyone else can hear that. I tested the sound at the beginning and I was getting it. So I think if you're not getting sound, there might be something wrong with yours on your end. Oh, there's a buzzing. Don't know what the buzzing is. Okay, I'm almost done anyway. Okay, I went through comments. That's the end of it. If there isn't any questions specifically, I'm going to go through the next assignment and set. Okay, so we just finished lesson number 2. And we're going on to assignment number 2. For this assignment, I'm going to need you to employ the skills taught in the previous 2 lessons. I want you to create a program with several sprites, multiple costumes for each sprite. Like the last assignment, I need you to show, not like the last assignment, I need you to show me some logical connection between all the sprites. So I don't want just 5 different sprites doing something. I want the things to be interconnected the way the rock band was connected. There wasn't a Godzilla in the middle of the rock band. Every piece of that related to music or a band in some way. So that's what I want you to work on. I don't want you to create a rock band. I want you to create something new, okay? So the requirements for this project is a Scratch program with at least 4 sprites, a backdrop, not just one solid color. I want you to use one of the backdrops that you can use. Each sprite has to have at least 2 costumes, so the original costume you bring them into and 1 others. Each sprite should have 1 sound. You need to have comments included on every major code block. So anything that has a great big, 2 or 3 pieces of code block, put a comment in there. This is to make the cymbal crash. This is to make the singer sing, okay? And logical reasoning used to indicate functionality. So there's an overall purpose to the program. It's not just running randomly. The program needs to make sense. It can't just be, I explained that already. And this is where you'll share it to when you're done. Okay, for the most part, I think everybody figured that one out. In terms of a due date, I believe you can have that one done today. You still have almost 2 hours left in this class. So I'm going to set the due date for today, April 26th. And I will be going on tomorrow to the Scratch tutorials and the assignment 3 Scratch tutorials. These ones are pretty quick. Okay, so you can see here I have the due date set to April 26th, and you can all get to work on that. If you have questions, I'll hang out here until 11. I'll be in the Teams. I'm not going to be in the Teams meeting, but you put a comment in there and I can join if you need help with something, but that's what you should be working on. Okay, remember, follow those requirements specifically so that you have everything that you need in there, and that's it. You can bail.